It was so true. It was just find out how we
Not only is the universe stranger than you imagine, the universe is stranger than you can imagine.
In a multiverse, you choose your own adventure story.
It's good to know that there is still a universe where all this makes sense, and you understand it all.
And in one of the many multiverses, where every possibility is played out, you are the queen.
Or a queen.
You are Donald Trump.
Or Mexican migrant.
You are a billionaire with a super yacht.
Or a homeless bag lady with a plastic duck.
Once you take seriously that all possible universes can exist, then a slippery slope opens up before you. In the case of eternal things, what may be must be.
So, Dr. Wilson, this experiment of yours, this incredibly expensive experiment of yours, not quite the result that we were expecting, was it?
Well, it depends, Director Pennywise. I mean, it wasn't a complete failure. No, the concept was sound.
This sound concept cost our university £12 million, Doctor. It has wiped out the research budget for your department for, well, I don't know how long. £12 million. And that's without the English department's ongoing commitment to the Cuttlefish aquarium.
No, but no. This wasn't all my department at all. No, this was an exciting new collaboration. There was the English department, theoretical physics, computing and zoology. A chance to cross-fertilise, as you're always telling us, Director Pennywise, to break down silos.
This cross-fertilisation, why hasn't it worked, Dr. Wilson?
Well, as Professor Alzati put it in her disciplinary hearing last week, it has worked.
No, it hasn't.
It has! We know with 100% certainty that it has worked. It just didn't happen in our universe, is all.
Dr. Wilson.
Oh, it was because of the quantum, because of Copenhagen, because of the inter-thingy.
Dr. Wilson, you expect me to go to the Vice-Chancellor with "because of the quantum"? Why didn't it work?
It's complicated.
Try me.
Perhaps I should start from the beginning?
Perhaps you should.
Well, it all started 8 months ago, when Professor Alzati from Theoretical Physics came to me with a proposal.
It will revolutionise literature.
But it sounds far-fetched, Professor.
The research is sound. It will put this university on the map.
Will it really? But how does it work? It seems unlikely.
Have you read it? Imagine all of the possibilities.
But how does it work? It sounds like magic. Can we explain it to a layman?
Well, it's quite simple, Dr. Wilson. In order to unite quantum science, gravity, and the classical view of reality, we rely on a number of theories, including the mathematical universe hypothesis. Under this theorem, we conjecture that the physical universe is not merely described by mathematics, but is composed of mathematics. Therefore, any structure that can exist mathematically must exist physically as well. Observers, including humans, are merely self-aware substructures. And in any mathematical structure complex enough to contain such substructures, they will subjectively perceive themselves as existing in a physically real world. As a result, there are an infinite number of mathematical possibilities and therefore an infinite number of realities.
Simple.
Simple? But can you explain it to a layman? And just explain it a little slower, please?
The universe around you is but one of an infinite number of universes, each one slightly different. As a result, there are an infinite number of realities.
Professor, that is bad sci-fi.
But Dr. Wilson, that is genuine science.
Okay, look, Professor, let's just supposing I believe you. Why should that interest me? I'm admin lead for the English department. And why is computing and zoology here? And Dr. Lake, you're a Shakespeare theorist.
I am.
It seems to me that none of these fine researchers should have any interest in the mathematical quantum thingy.
Mathematical universe hypothesis.
Yes, that.
Well, Dr. Wilson, do you know the maxim that an infinite amount of monkeys striving for an infinite amount of time will eventually produce the complete works of Shakespeare?
I'm aware of it.
Well, sort of along those lines.
Okay, I'm aware, Professor Ellison, that zoology may want funding for monkeys. Okay, but here, in the English department, we already have a number of copies of Shakespeare's works, and for a much lesser cost.
Do we have copies of his lost plays, though? We know that many of Shakespeare's works are missing.
Sorry?
Well, that's the thing, Dr. Wilson. One advantage of our monkeys experiment is that we will get all of Shakespeare's works. And all his notes, all his iterations, all the plays that were never even finished. Imagine what we could learn.
His lost works?
Imagine what that would do for our department's ratings, for student numbers.
I mean, the funding councils would like that.
It gets better, Dr. Wilson. We'd not only be able to tap into the lost books, but also anything that he might have written.
Imagine, we could read the guest episodes that the Bard would have written for Game of Thrones, or his take on Friends.
How dost thou do it? I could even read his autobiography.
This is all sounding good, but it's a lot of money. And risk, even for Shakespeare.
But it's not just Shakespeare. The monkeys would, statistically, write almost every other book that could exist ever. Imagine that. Thousands upon thousands of works of literature, which up till now have only existed in potentia. All available to an ambitious English department with a research evaluation review coming up.
And we're not just talking about novels by unknown authors here. Oh no. We're talking about masterpieces which were not written by the geniuses of literature, but should have been. Just imagine the treasures that could be produced.
Steinbeck writing about Brexit.
Homer writing about the Napoleonic Wars.
C.S. Lewis's version of Wardrobe, where Lucy gets a smartphone and an assault rifle.
And more than academic interest, just imagine the marketing potential of these works to students. Come and read books that were never written but should have been. We never have to drop a course again.
This is sounding tempting, but look, the thing is, the English department, the university, simply cannot afford an infinite number of monkeys. I mean, this idea is fine as a theory, but is impossible in practice. I mean, infinite is infinite, literally. This is impossible.
But I really want to read Shakespeare's autobiography.
Look, I wish I could help you. I really do. But even if I could convince Director Pennywise, the closest we can get to an infinite number of monkeys, and this is assuming that they cost the same as grad students, is... let me work this out. Right, carry the 1. 13. Nowhere near infinite.
But the point, Dr. Wilson, had you read the proposal, is that under the mathematical universe hypothesis, we don't actually need an infinite number of monkeys in the department. We don't even need 13. Nowhere near that many.
Well, how many would we need?
1.
1?
Quantum computing and an infinite universe.
Eh?
We've established that there are an infinite number of worlds in which all possible histories and futures are real, yes?
Well, established is a
We
bit...
can therefore be confident that there are an infinite number of our departments carrying out the same experiment at the same time across the multiverse. Actually, just by having this conversation, we're ensuring this. Assuming that we could somehow tap into those alternate realities, we'd only need to set up the experiment once to be effectively creating an infinite number of our one monkey, just each one slightly different.
And that's a significant cost saving in both space and bananas.
Well, this is all good, but how do we access those other dimensions?
Well, Professor Hassan's research on quantum computing looks like it should.
Quantum computing and my newly invented quantum printer. All we need to do is set up our monkey, fire up the printer and download the results.
From that point on, it's simply a matter of sorting through the results to identify the gems from the tabloid journalism.
This is all sounding very tempting, but how are you sure that even an infinite number of the same monkey can produce what you suggest?
Well, the fact is, we won't actually be using monkeys in our experiment.
We won't.
No, monkeys are stupid. Use a smarter animal with better results faster.
So what do you suggest? Undergraduates?
Better than that. Dolphins.
Dolphins?
Yes.
Very bright is your average dolphin, and according to the latest linguistic studies, they've a good understanding of both narrative and dialogue, which helps with story making.
Look, I'm sorry, this is not going to work, okay? Dolphins are crazily expensive. There's the fish to feed them, the tank, not to mention the ethical issue to use one would be a nightmare. It'd be cheaper to use humans. Easy to get approval too.
No, informed consent issues. You'd need a signed consent form from every version of the person in every reality. Admin nightmare, that.
But look, couldn't we get it signed by the one person and said it was agreed upon in all the different realities?
No, ethics will point out that technically each one is a different person. That, and in an infinite number of realities, they won't be signed. No, it's got to be animals, not people.
Well, look, dolphins are too expensive, all right? What else you got?
You could use my cat.
If we were looking for infinite YouTube videos, yes, but not literature.
Mice?
Cuttlefish.
What?
Wow, cuttlefish. Cuttlefish.
Yes.
What?
Cuttlefish are intelligent. We could train the little blighters to bash away at little underwater keyboards.
And I could build one. They have, what, 8 tentacles?
Cuttlefish.
Wait, whoa! Cuttlefish! Aren't they like mollusks? Like snails and things like that?
Yes, they're in the same phylum, so.
Who is going to want to read a book written by an overgrown snail?
But they're not writing the books.
I'm sorry, I thought we said that they...
Rather, they're a conduit. A random action for the input of statistics and probability. Random bashing away at a keyboard and generating mostly random results. No agency themselves, just the random action of infinite...
They're infinite numbers!
Exactly!
Yes.
And with all their tentacles, they'll be able to type really quickly.
Cuttlefish? Absolutely, because cuttlefish are great communicators.
Are they?
Oh, yes, they're very adept at communicating emotions efficiently. I mean, literature's all about emotions, isn't it?
I guess.
And conflict. Don't forget that literature is about conflict too.
Oh, they're awfully good at that as well. They're very territorial cuttlefish, particularly when defending their den in the mating season. Emotions and conflict. Very literary animals are average cuttlefish.
Well,
What do you think?
are you with us?
Let me get this straight. Using a cuttlefish to write all of the possible literature in the universe.
Multiverse.
Yes! Using a cuttlefish to write all of the possible literature in the multiverse. This idea is just too crazy.
But aren't all new ideas crazy?
Like the printing press.
Or aircraft.
Mobile phones.
Or cheese.
Cheese!
Oh, yeah, I mean, who first thought putting rotten lumpy milk on a cracker? And that worked out okay, didn't it?
I suppose.
Made a lot of money.
Money's good.
Think about the academic progress. The REF score.
I can't believe I'm considering this, sir. Look, how much exactly is this going to cost? That's the entire departmental budget for 2 years!
Well, that does include conference travel.
And 2 PhD studentships.
Maybe we could get it down a little.
Please.
Well,
Well,
Are you sure this is going to work?
of course, it's all mathematics after all.
In that case, you better start looking for your cuttlefish. Right, I suggest we reconvene for next Tuesday, where we can discuss the further find out how you've got.
Really, Dr. Wilson, did you honestly expect that this simply crazy idea would work?
Well, they were very persuasive, and they are experts in their respective fields.
You risked the financial future and academic reputation of your department, indeed this very university, on the ability of a cuttlefish to write all the possible works of literature in the universe.
Multiverse. Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
But it wasn't, was it?
Well, it didn't go wrong all at once. I mean, it took 2 months to set up the project. There were 1 or 2 ethical issues to overcome.
Ethical issues.
Well, using a cuttlefish in an English department research experiment did raise 1 or 2 issues.
I see.
One of the issues arose from the fact that the works may turn out to be very personal, you know, detailing things that shouldn't be seen in a public arena. Or worse, were untrue, in this universe at least.
And your plan for this?
We agreed that we would only publish fiction books at first, that any non-fiction or biography book would be reviewed by a selection of scholars and ethicists, not to mention a considerable cadre of lawyers.
And then what happens?
It was a cold Monday morning, 6 months into the project, when the first results came in. Morning all! So, I can't pretend to tell you how excited I am. So, everything up and running? Yes, our fish little friend beavering away for us?
Yes, well,
Yes.
the quantum network is online within expected parameters.
Great.
and I fixed the shorting issue with the input interface. And it ran fine over the weekend. No technical issues.
Good to know.
Water quality all good, fitted a new pump, no signs of stress. in the tank, anyway.
I mean, welfare is important.
And I refilled the printer with paper.
Excellent. So, are the results in? Have we got our first masterpiece yet?
Well, look, the thing you have to remember is that technically the project is a success.
Oh, wonderful. Phew.
I mean, the equipment works well, and we're producing literature.
Oh, well, something anyway.
Oh,
Yes,
great.
well.
Can I have a look?
Oh.
What?
Well, there is something we didn't totally think through.
Which is...
Well, it's Virginia.
Virginia?
Yes, I named the Cuttlefish Virginia. That seemed a literary sort of name. I mean, I could have chosen Sylvia or Maya or even Harper. I've always liked Virginia. And given that she's been bred in captivity and never seen a male, you know.
Get on with it.
Yes, of course, of course. Well, cuttlefish are very interesting anatomically in the fact that they have 3 separate hearts. And as I say, bearing in mind that it's the mating season and all that, you can guess where I'm going with this, Unc?
No! Is she not writing?
Oh no, she's incredibly prolific. Over 30 novels written already, which you'll agree is impressive for a cuttlefish. I mean, after all, her brain weighs less than a gram, only...
Only.
Yes, only.
Only what?
Only it's low-grade romance novels. Poor quality. Not even fit for pulp publication. Weird stuff. With metaphors that only make sense if you're a cuttlefish. His eyes were like a fleeing shrimp. Big, dark, like the deepest chasms of the ocean. His fat body, sending waves of colour up and down my back, polarising from short to long. My eggs, swelling with anticipation. My ink sacs throbbing, as if I couldn't decide between fleeing or staying, and surrendering myself to the touch of his tentacles, caressing my mouth. Shall I go on?
No, that's fine, thank you. Fine.
Well, I just didn't think that Virginia would be so romantic. I mean, I always thought that the heart being the centre of creativity would be a metaphor. Well, proved it isn't, at least. Might be worth a paper or something, right?
It's certainly something.
Definitely something. Publish or perish.
But what about the books?
Oh, we have books, just not good ones.
But I don't understand. I thought you said that we would have access to every potential book, that the animal was just a random key strike generator. So why is it we're getting the fruits of one horny cephalopod's imagination?
Well, statistically that's true. I mean, certainly that is what the research says should be the case. However, we're dealing with huge probabilities here. Statistically speaking, under the mathematical universe hypothesis, there was always a small yet infinite number of universes where this particular outcome would occur.
Small but infinite.
Statistically speaking, yes. Infinite, but a much smaller infinite than the number of universes where it works. It's important to note that.
So, there is a small but infinite number of universes where this experiment will produce this.
And you're in one of them. Makes it rather special, doesn't it? If you think about it.
Will we ever get the books?
Statistically speaking,
Yes.
no, probably not.
But do bear in mind that in an infinite number of universes, this experiment was a tremendous success.
And statistically speaking, we are part of that success. Just one of a relatively smaller, infinite number where it hasn't worked.
Surely that's good to know. And for the many versions of you, we are bringing good news.
No. No, it's not.
So?
Yeah. So?
Bring me all of Virginia's finished novels and shut down the experiment.
Yes, of course.
Probably for the best.
Definitely the right decision. Agreed.
I will talk to the board. See if we can at least keep our jobs!
And that's the full story.
Pretty much, yes.
And are you going to try and persuade me that I ought to accept this disaster because apparently in another universe it worked?
Well, according to Professor Alzati, there are an infinite number of universes where you might.
And I assure you that once again that is a significantly smaller infinite than the ones in which you reside, Dr. Wilson. And that for once you'll be pleased to note you're living in the larger number.
Yes, I understand.
Oh, and Dr. Wilson,
Yes?
whatever happened to the cephalopods' writings?
I believe they were destroyed. As I said, it was agreed that they were of rather poor quality.
I think I'll have a plate of calamari for my lunch today.
Professor, how are things?
Professor Ellison, how good to see you. How are you?
Oh, good, oh, good. Sad business about the English department merging with media studies, though. Can't help feeling a little responsible.
I know, but it was Dr. Wilson's choice to proceed, poor chap.
What chap?
Losing his job, of course.
Oh, I'm sure he's quite over that by now, though, huh?
What?
Haven't you heard? Ink in the blood, my colour, my skin.
You've lost me.
The big romantic novel craze, Virginia Sea Fish. The bidding for movie rights, the queues outside bookshops.
And that's Wilson?
Hmm.
My goodness. So the experiment wasn't a complete write-off then?
Well, I guess not. Glad to see Virginia's talent recognised at least. Anyway, moustache. Got a chameleon incident to deal with.
Well, we must catch up sometime.
Yes.
Oh, Professor,
Yeah?
it just occurred to me that Professor Alzati was right about one thing after all. Literature really was certainly revolutionised, wasn't it?